Hello again, Space Cases. This is the Space Cadet, bringing you another episode of Are We There Yet? The series that examines human history in known space and ponders how we've managed not to wipe ourselves out yet. In this episode, we're going to cover time in a positive way. And by that I mean we're going to finally get to use positive integers to annotate the years. We'll be discussing Standard Year 1 through Standard Year 100. So without further delay, let's get straight to it. Standard Year 1. Let's talk a little bit about demographics. Nearly 1 million people settle the planet Lemuria. There is only the one planet to settle at this point, so that makes a lot of sense. Their mindset is 1 part spacefaring, 1 part survivalist. So basically rugged individualists who drink their own urine. The population reintegrates, though there is some division based on the colony ship one's family traveled on. Within 3 generations, the division will largely be absent, because by then we'll have better things to be divisive over. The Provisional Colonial Government, or the PCG, mandates families have no less than 2 children. Now, this is done to keep the unwashed masses busy raising the future generations of wage slaves that will make up the core. The Colonial Defense Force, or CDF, is founded. The CDF battles hostile entities on Lemuria, which in the early years of the CDF was mostly just drunken members of the CDF. Their influence will eventually spread through the core worlds, like a virus, a mostly drunken virus. Technology. Of the great ships to make the journey, only 4 reach Lemuria. 4? 2 are used for parts in colonization and building small exploratory craft. 1 is retrofitted to continue exploration in the local system and is redesignated the CS Alpha. The 4th is mothballed because of the funk. Can you imagine the funk of 900 plus years? I mean, the stink inside that box would make a turd gag. Only 1 quantum computer survives the trip and is transferred to Lemuria to support the colonization. The computer's main function is to carry genetic data for numerous flora and fauna from the CEF's home world. Colonies will use this information to introduce a number of species throughout their habitable worlds in the future. In addition to its primary function, the computer is used to control central data collection, archives, and maintain functions of the growing colony. It is designated Automated Relativistic Continuity Computer, ARCC, ARC, because the only effin' quantum computer didn't make quite as good an acronym. Standard Year 5. Despite the gridlock between the elites, humanity founds a nation named after their home, Lemuria. A representational government is proposed to replace the PCG, but debates on its form do not get to a vote. Because why would the PCG give up power? The PCG transitions to the government of Lemuria, or the GOL, as there is no sign of a compromise on the horizon. But, hey, they did change the name, so progress. A prime minister is selected by the GOL to take control of the bureaucracy. The city of Reese is founded in the remains of Umazu-Kai City in honor of the first admiral of the CEF. Standard Year 25. The GOL holds a symbolic vote to spread humanity beyond Lemuria. The second planet in the Lemurian system is chosen for habitation given its breathable oxygen atmosphere, and it lies within Helion's habitable zone. It is named Inferion. The legislation includes provisions for a draft-like lottery of couples based on genetic makeup to colonize Inferion. with the option to buy out for families who do not wish to leave. So essentially, this planet isn't big enough for us to live on with those people. Assets are put aside to complete a telescope to survey local space for signs of life and other habitable planets. The Expeditionary Fleet, or EF, and the EF Marine Corps, EFMC, are founded to explore and aid in colonizing the Lemurian system. The EF is charged with scientific exploration. They are given command of the colony ships. Where the CDF battles to protect colonies, the EFMC must become adept at combat in space and colonized areas with atmospheres requiring equipment to navigate. The EF refers to their marine counterparts as Space Marines. The moniker sticks, and the GOL uses it as a recruiting tool. The EF and EFMC begin a 100-year endeavor to identify habitable bodies in the Lemurian system. Standard Year 40. After a decade of training, the EF and EFMC launch a 10-year exploratory journey with nearly 100 personnel to Amphitryon. The planet is roughly 9,500 kilometers in diameter, covered in jungles and oceans, completes an orbit around Hellion once every 325 days, rotates on its axis every 22 hours, and has an average temperature of 32 degrees Celsius. That's around 90 degrees Fahrenheit for those of you who are savages. Importantly, it resides in the habitable zone. Gravity is approximately 93% that of Lemuria's. There are 4 habitable continents. Studies will find much of the plant life is non-toxic to humans and helps to sustain a viable atmosphere for habitation. There is further evidence of the missing Mazukai society, which would stand to reason. I mean, the other habitable planet is just right over there. Standard Year 55. A large telescope is completed on the tallest peak of Lemuria to support exploration of the local system. I know what you're thinking, Space Cases. But Space Cadet, don't we have spaceships? Why would we need a telescope to look at this system? Didn't we spend a decade driving around the system before we let anybody off the boat? And to that I would say, good catch, Space Cases. Keep in mind, though, scientists don't like to travel. They like to science. And that is usually done from the comfort of one's own lab. Efforts to study the Stygian Gate begin with a probe sent by the EF. As with the previous encounters, there is no sign of the race that developed the gates. The signature and writing appear different than the Mazukai artifacts encountered on Lemuria. Standard Year 65. The EF sends an additional 1,000 personnel to Amphitryon to explore. They begin building a permanent site for scientific research and surveying for larger colonization efforts. Standard Year 100. Another 1,000 personnel from the EF and EFMC complete establishment of a permanent presence on Amphitryon. Because after 45 years, they all still lived in tents, ate canned beans, and used porta potties. The base will steadily grow to nearly 10,000 personnel by the year 125. So that brings us to the end of another episode of Are We There Yet? Join us next time when we explore further into the mystery of our history. Until then, this is the Space Cadet broadcasting to you from somewhere in the black on XPNS, The Expanse. It's a cold galaxy out there, Space Cases, so stay warm and keep your zap gun handy.
Information is free. There is hope.